I might be proud in the moment of my work, but it was okay. What's next? I want to keep going. I want to keep improving. I like being a student. I like knowing that I'm a beginner. I truly feel every day like, all right, a long way to go, because there's Jeff Beck, because there's Alan Holdsworth or XY, whoever, Wes Montgomery.
Today's episode is sponsored by Gator Cases. Guitarists, like any other musician, value the advantages of proper protection for their gear. Guitars, amps, effects, and accessories all need safe transport and storage. Luckily, Gator's got you covered. Andy, you've been so busy this year already. We're only a couple months in. The new album, Recovery, starts off with this great tribute to Jeff Beck. Why did you feel like you had to start off the record that way?
Well, he's such a important figure to so many of us, and in the world of guitar, there's just this. If there's ever a Mount Rushmore, he would have been on there already with Shapes of Things back in 1965. But as he continued to evolve and just give us so much, hope. Really, there's just so much beauty and hope in what he's doing. What I mean by that is that there's always so much farther to go. He refused to repeat himself. He really kept evolving, and if any artist looks at their own career, I think that's what they're hoping to do if they care about that. There may be some people that develop a sound and then kind of stay there their career, and there's zero wrong with that if that's what makes them happy. But I think Jeff is a kindred spirit for me because I might be proud in the moment of my work, but it was okay. What's next? I want to keep going. I want to keep improving. I like being a student. I like knowing that I'm a beginner. I truly feel every day like, all right, I got a long way to go, because there's Jeff Beck, because there's Alan Holdsworth or XY, whoever, Wes Montgomery, all these geniuses that have come before us that say, hey man, there's a lot possible. You just have to keep pushing your own envelope and be the best version of yourself. That's an important thing to point out that I like to talk about is realizing you're not going to be Jeff Beck. Don't try to be Jeff, but learn from the process, and he gets some isms. That's like what I got from Lukather I stole more from him than anybody. And I tell him every time I'm ever around him, he goes, "No, you sound like you, man." Yeah, but I'm standing on your shoulders, buddy. But for Jeff, to do that for Jeff and to have a piece of music, it was really sad when he died, because I thought he was going to be around another 20 years to keep me, because he just kept growing, and he'd just been in Texas, and I missed him because I had a gig in Houston. When he was in Dallas, I was out of town, so I couldn't see him. But I have seen him, a good handful of times since 1999, and every time it was really, really emotional and inspiring, and so that's why it just felt right to start the record with that piece, Elegy for Jeff. It's just a real simple little melody for. A little bit of tremolo in there, a la Jeff. But he's missed, but he left us so much hope and inspiration. So God bless him.
There's a great song on the record, "Love Greater Than Hate," and there's almost at parts in it, you almost play this like thrash metal riff that is so. It almost sounds like Metallica or something. Did your son influence this that you mentioned earlier? Where did you come up with?
That's the thing. I have to think that, and you're the first person to maybe draw that parallel. There's no doubt, because before he's into the really heavy stuff, but when he first started getting into guitar, which again would have been in 2019, maybe 2020, it was all Metallica and Megadeth with Marty, and a lot of Pantera, Slipknot. So yeah, and not conscious, but I was probably drawing from that energy, of what I was hearing come out of his bedroom. But it's the dichotomy of that tune, the good versus evil kind of idea. And that was a very sweet thing that somebody else pointed out in an interview last week, was that he said, like, so much of the music on the record is there's so many different moods. There's always some darkness and some sadness, but there's always hope, and there's always redemption in some way. And that is kind of how we have to feel at this moment in time, And in general, it's just being a human being, and if you're a particularly sensitive human being, yeah, it can be tough, man. So, but that song is very much a dichotomy, and so I think there's some really beautiful moments, but then there's some pretty heavy stuff too. So yeah, it must be from Hetfield, you know.
I would imagine it is so great to have a son who's into this, and then you can be
Yeah.
like the cool dad who gives him gear or advice or
Yeah.
whatever. Like, is he really into this? Like, this has got to be the greatest thing, Andy, to have him
Well,
playing guitar.
it is kind of cool. And what I love about it is that his thing is so contrapuntal to mine, you know. It's still rock, but it's so heavy, and he's got a great tone, but it's a whole different thing than what I do. But he's got a Mesa rectifier for, 412, and he uses a PV 6505 and sometimes a rectifier head. But he had a show yesterday. There was a big multi-band show yesterday in Dallas, and Bolt Cutter was the headliner. So he was thrilled about opening for one of his favorite bands. But I was there on stage helping him set up, you know. So right now they don't have a bass player, so he sets up a dual rig, and he's got my old. I had this PV stereo 120 power amp, like the heaviest power amp ever. That when I was in Danger used to power my stage rig with preamps, and I had this power. So he used that to power a second side to his rig, you know. So I'm up there on stage helping him get his tone, getting the balance. So, considering my narrow scope of knowledge and ability in life, thank goodness he chose guitar because it's the one thing I can help him with. It's like, and when he said, when he came to me when he was 16, he said, "Dan, I think I want to play guitar." I said, "Well, you're in a good house. I'll help however I can." But like I mentioned, when I started trying to teach him whatever I could, maybe it's a bit of father son. He wanted his own path, and he gets what he gets from either learning by ear or watching YouTube, like so many young players. There's so much information available. So I got to say, him going on his own path was phenomenal because what he's writing is very original and very much his own thing. So, but I help him at every stage if I feel like he could use some advice. But he does come to me for certain things for sure. So it's a lot of
And
fun.
Andy, you're about to be off touring in Asia. You've
Yeah,
got a bunch of sold out shows. Why do you have to
yeah.
go so far away to tour?
That's
What's
a good.
what's
It's a
what's
long
going
commute,
on?
man. It's a long commute. It's weird. It's just the way the career's gone. A lot of it's just been opportunity and invitation. In Danger. We first went to Japan in 1990, and then I went many more times because I've been Ibanez and Dorsey, and they're based in Japan. So there were opportunities there. I worked with Simon Phillips. I worked with Olivia Newton-John. Clinic tours for Mesa Boogie and for Ibanez, and then of course my own band. So I've been to Japan more than any other country. I think this will be my 22nd time, I think. And then, in Europe, I have an Italian-based kind of promoter, a fan that turned into a promoter. So we were just never the band that got in the van in the States and did that kind of thing. My career's been a little weird in that way. But I'm happy with the balance, but I would like to play more in the States for sure. I mean, we go up to New York and play the Iridium, and there's spot gigs here and there in Texas, of course. So I think there's room for improvement there, So we'll get that sussed out.
How
But
how do
yeah,
you fly with your number one guitar that you're holding right now, your
I
AT100?
I
Do you
hold it
check
right
it?
like I am
Or
right now. I don't part with it. So I mean, there's people that buy these nice check-in road cases and whatnot, but there's always that chance that somebody's going to lose it, and that happens or it gets stolen. So it's a daily battle. Most airline folks, to a point, are very happy to help if they can. So just being kind and explaining, the importance of your instrument. Most people are very, very accommodating. Sometimes they have to put it, hand check it or whatever. I've had a couple of really bad experiences, but most overall, it's gone very well. So I do carry a gig bag and carry it with me, and like I say, most of the times they're accommodating.